If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're never going to get out of the rat race. Let me repeat that. If you're living to paycheck, you're stuck for the rest of your life. You got to make a change. You got to reduce those monthly expenses so that it's not paycheck to paycheck. You need to enlarge your active income so that you're making some more money, that you've got disposable money. And instead of blowing it on yachts or on boats and trips and all this other stuff, use that additional money to go acquire cash flowing assets that will produce you passive income. I get fired up a little bit. Anyway, but you may want to switch jobs. Okay, you may want to switch jobs to somebody that will pay you more. That's a viable option. I know it's risky. I know it's difficult, but you know what else is risky? Staying in the same spot that you're in right now. That's risky because they can. Let's not kid ourselves. You can be replaced by the end of the week. You know, you may have an affinity for your boss. You may love your job. You may be good at what you're doing. But if it's not helping you with your personal finance plan, you may want to find another job. Now, don't quit. Listen, don't quit your job until you get the other one lined up. This word that I hear all the time, I get burnt out. I'm burnt out. I'm so burnt out. No, you're not burnt out. Maybe the kids in China who are working 100 hours a week in a sewing factory for these big corporations, they might get burnt out. You're not burnt out. You might be uninspired. You might be underappreciated, but you're not burnt out. You got more left in the tank. So don't go with that burnout nonsense. Very few people actually burn out. If your pituitary gland blows, yes, you burnt yourself out. Other than that, you're just, again, uninspired. So let's get re-inspired. And hopefully the Real Wealth Formula will inspire you to look at your job differently. Your job has a job, and that's to help you with the formula, to help you become wealthy. Like, it's not just an end, the means to an end. I just do this. I punch in, I punch out. No, it's got a purpose to make you wealthy. You got to reshift your mentality around what the job is supposed to be doing. The job is supposed to be giving you additional money so you can go acquire passive income. Imagine if that's only 5 years from now. You hate your job. You're burnt out with your job. You hate your boss. You do all this kind of stuff. What if I said you only had to do it for 5 years and never again? Think you can put up with 5 years? Because for me, I started this path towards financial freedom. I made the decision in 2008. I started getting educated. I didn't do my first deal, and I'll tell you about the story of my first deal until August of 2010. Okay, so August of 2010. It took me 2 years or so just to prepare to do one deal. Then from there, once I learned the real estate investing tools and tricks, I retired in June of 2013. So 3 years after that. What I'm saying is 3 to 5 years from deciding, hey, I'm going on this formula. That's what it took me. You're going to get the shortcuts, right? You're going to get the shortcuts listening and participating in these shows. You're going to be able to do it sooner, hopefully. That's if you put the effort. It's all effort driven. But that's a second option, switch jobs. The third option is a side hustle, right? You can do a bunch of different kind of side hustles. And many might frown their nose at these side hustles, but I want you to get the mentality of maybe your job, maybe you've maxed yourself out at the job. Maybe you don't have the ability to go get a raise. Maybe your scenario is such that it just is what it is, right? You need to start thinking about making additional income. And some of that additional income might be through freelance work, right? It might be through, I do this, but I do a different for my job, but I do a different iteration on my own, right? It may be as simple as like driving Uber, officiating youth sports, finding those different kind of things just to kind of get ahead. Now, Those are lower, pay per hour type things. You're going to make 40, 50 bucks per hour. But you stack them up, maybe it's enough to go get into a rental property over time. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So that service industry side hustles are legitimate. But you're saying, well, Brad, you're wanting me to work 2 jobs? Yeah, that's what I did. Whatever it takes. Do you want to be wealthy or not? You're going to keep doing the same thing? That's the definition of insanity, right? That's an example of insanity. It's not the definition. The example of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. That's crazy. Don't do that. Figure something out. It might be a side hustle. Another side hustle, you could start a business. Now, this is something that is not for everybody. Starting a business requires a lot, and most new startups fail. But it is an option. You might be a manager. You might be entrepreneurial enough. You may be someone who sees something that can work in the marketplace and get paid a good income for and work out really well. My admonition is get educated. Learn how to do business. You may have just been an employee who comes in, and one of the things that I want to say is a lot of salespeople are not actually salespeople. This is tying in, trust me. They're not really salespeople. They're order takers, meaning you may be someone who sells auto parts or mattresses or something like that, and you think that you're a salesperson. Well, someone walks into a mattress store, the chances of them wanting a mattress, pretty high. So really what you're just saying is, well, do you want the sleep number bed? Do you want the memory foam? Do you want a queen size? Do you want a king size? Like, that's order taking. And they call you a salesperson because you are technically doing sales and you get a commission because you do sales, but you're not really doing sales. Sales is someone has no idea that they want to buy the product that you're trying to sling them. And you convince them out of the clear blue sky to do that. That's sales. That's entrepreneurship. That's starting a business. Because when you start a business, you want to get those sales first before you start building out the stores and all that kind of stuff. There's a book called Ready, Fire, Aim. Before you start any business, read that book. That will tell you about, hey, sell what you want to do first before you start even producing the product or the service or whatever, because you don't know if the market actually likes what it is that you have to sell. And then, of course, the side hustle that I have an affinity for is real estate. See, real estate is something that I was able to do on nights, weekends, margins of my day. I was able to make it so that I made big money sometimes and residual money, all the time. I made it so that I went from not being able to afford a $50 dress to my passive income larger than my monthly expenses, retired in the house that I would like to live for the rest of my life, right? Like, that's kind of the trajectory. And it took 5 years to get there. That's where you can get to. Like, following the real estate, that's what most of this podcast is talking to real estate investors, talking about real estate questions that you have. Because in my opinion, real estate is the easiest, most predictable way for people to escape the rat race. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button right now. You don't want to miss the next episode. Every week, we drop practical money strategies and real stories that'll change the way you think about wealth.